I think it's no secret that people just get way more hyped for Marvel movies and projects than they do for DC projects that are announced. Especially given the recent years of messy studio interference and all the big projects that end up falling flat and just not hitting right when it comes to box office numbers. That goes for both Marvel Studios and DC Studios, with many fans being left feeling unsatisfied or just straight up angry at the movies that are being produced by both companies. However, it's been very clear the past couple of years that people have a bigger tolerance for the declining or perhaps a lack of improvement in quality over the years for Marvel movies than they do for DC movies. And today that's what we're going to be talking about. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. My name is Aiden, and I will be your entertainer today. Recently, for another video that I've been working on, I've been rewatching the Marvel movies and shows that have come out in the last 5 years, and I wouldn't say they're as horrible as people say, but I do see some of the flaws that are being pointed out with some of them, like the CGI not being up to par with nowadays compared to what they used to look like. But I don't think that really matters because it never really takes away from the main story or any of the actual plot lines that we care about. DC has been running into this problem too, with the most notable movie as of lately was The Flash. But besides just The Flash having CGI issues, it had many more issues that it ran into while it was still in development. One of those other issues was that writers and directors who started out on the project dropped the project over and over again, making it an interesting and overall messy product that ended up having unfortunate cameos as a last-ditch effort to try and salvage some of that movie. However, The Flash isn't the only DC movie to have this problem lately. Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Aquaman, and The Lost Kingdom, and all the other DC Snyderverse ran into problems along the way, whether it was because of the lack of understanding of each character's comic book counterpart, or just the disgraceful adaptations of the storylines that led to awkward and unbelievable interactions. The Snyderverse didn't really have very much going for it, if you know what I mean. So most people didn't really care at the time if the characters were really getting good adaptations, especially the ones that they really, really cared about. They didn't care if they were getting absolutely decimated in the studio and if they were being an incredible mischaracterization of each other. I believe that a lot of people are scared when it comes to James Gunn's new DCU and don't really want to see another reboot because it means starting over and possibly never seeing a good adaptation in live action of the characters that they love. So they would be fine with just sticking with the already weak adaptations of the Snyderverse. Now, don't get me wrong, I love DC and so many of the characters that come with adapting a storyline. Blue Beetle, Zack Snyder's extended cut of the Justice League, had some good moments, and the first Aquaman were all interesting movies that I remember enjoying and having rewatched before. Xolo Maridueña did an amazing job as Blue Beetle, and from what I've heard, he's going to continue as Jaime Reyes in the James Gunn DCU, and given his performance before, I'm very excited for that. The Snyder cut of the Justice League was okay. It's got some good scenes, but honestly the whole thing is just a mess, and it's better than the original cut, but it's still not very good. Aquaman was just a good standalone movie. Jason Momoa did an awesome job portraying this version of Arthur Curry, and seeing someone who's not white and blonde like me portray Aquaman was definitely an interesting choice, and I believe that it was a correct one because Momoa did amazing. I can't wait to see him play Lobo in James Gunn's DCU because he already has the comic book look down. I mean, damn. Look at that. Gunn is putting so much into Superman that it's obvious it will do well, and it's clear from the trailers that Corey Sweat was such a good choice to cast as Clark Kent and Superman. The visuals alone for this movie have so many people hyped, including myself, making me think that James Gunn's Superman will be so much better than Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Not because Henry Cavill was a bad portrayal of Superman. I believe he did everything that he could to be the best Superman we could have at that moment. However, the Snyderverse Superman, he felt very dark and inhumane at times. And it's interesting to think about because so many people believe that with the right directors and writers, Cavill would have been the best portrayal of Superman in our time. But I believe that Snyder and Cavill both love the character, but Snyder didn't have a firm grasp on the traditional Superman as a whole. Superman isn't a god. He has superhuman powers, but his life as Clark Kent is what makes him a true hero. He wasn't an alien who was raised on Krypton and doesn't know how to be a normal man. He's an alien who was raised on a farm by two loving parents, and he's as human as an alien can be. James Gunn seems to be headed in the right direction with Superman, just based on the trailers so far. David Corenswet and Gunn have put their hearts into this project, making Clark Kent a much more human character, similar to how he is in the early age of DC. Many people, including myself, are very sick of DC having to be the down-to-earth and gritty cinematic universe, while the MCU is allowed to be as fantastical as it wants. The MCU did a phenomenal job setting up their cinematic universe, starting off with Iron Man and Hulk, and then segueing into Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor, and then having the big team up with the Avengers. It set up such a ginormous cinematic universe because they took the proper steps to setting up the main players of who were going to be followed in the majority of their next movies. Which is another complaint that I've seen about the recent state of the MCU. Many fans are worried about the gap between the characters being in their own movies or even starring in other movies is too long. I can see why people would be afraid of that, because we started off with the movies starring a smaller cast of characters in such a fashion that the first two Iron Man movies came out within 2 years of each other, and then seeing Iron Man again 2 years later in the Avengers, and then seeing him for a fourth time in Iron Man 3, a year after the Avengers. But unfortunately, because of the increasing cast of characters that Marvel has at their disposal, there's just too many projects going on at once, causing talented people to be overworked and stressed, giving out products that are less than ideal quality. But because of the base that was set up until about Avengers Endgame, the fan base around the cinematic universe is such a large following that the majority of them still stick around and watch all the movies that have come out or are even announced. I mean, I don't really have any problems with the MCU, honestly. The universe that they set up is still amazing, but I don't think that the diehard fans of each character would agree with me. But that doesn't really matter to me all that much. People are just stuck in the past with something that has to be a certain way for it to be enjoyed, and that's just so boomerish that I don't even want to talk about it that much.
Arguing that the characters aren't like their comic book counterparts is so stupid. It's an adaptation. Of course, they're not going to be exactly like their counterparts. Or then arguing that the characters they're choosing are being too woke. What do you even want with a show? Do you want them to not be woke, or do you want them to be like their comic book versions? Comic books have always been woke. Superheroes fight for injustice against people. What do you mean they're woke now, you donkey? The only reason you're seeing it more prevalent now is because it's more universally accepted, because it's not something that people should be ashamed of, you goddamn morons.
Anyways, the main thing that I think is holding up these universes is the interconnectedness of each character. I do think that the MCU has too many projects going for it at once, especially when you compare it to the original way that they released and cared for each character at the beginning. I don't think that they've lost any of that care for each character. I just think that they're more excited about making the universe so much bigger, that they have so many different ideas that they want to do them all at once. But the smaller scale is what brought so many people to love the MCU. The DC universe has never had that consistent amount of love and care driven into it like it was with the beginning of Marvel and everything like that, which is why there's such a big gap in popularity for movies and shows right now. But hopefully James Gunn will be able to change that. And with that being said, I'm super excited about all the superhero projects that we have announced for the next couple of years. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I have an Instagram where I put leaks and other content under the name of kingofnone.yt. If you did enjoy, please remember to subscribe, and it seriously helps out the channel. And leave a like and comment. Tell me what you think about the main reason behind the gap in popularity. Okay, bye now.